Adam Schefter says Mike Tomlin might just take the Sean Payton route next year, the final year of his Steelers contract, and maybe do television for a year while he decides what he wants to do with the rest of his coaching career. Steelers are 10-point underdogs Sunday at Buffalo. Richard, your reaction to all of this?
I feel him. You coach your butt off every year just to get your team in the playoffs. You have no franchise quarterback to be seen and none on the horizon. This defense has been really good, but they're aging. T.J. Watt is out for this playoff game. There isn't a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. You just fired your offensive coordinator midseason. There's just so much to deal with consistently, and Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. But I would imagine he has to go over and beyond to get the most out of some of these players. He had the whole deal with George Pickens throughout the year, his frustration growing with the lack of targets, had to deal with Kenny Pickett and then Trubisky and now Mason Rudolph. It's just tough to not have a franchise quarterback as long as he hasn't had one and still be winning these games. Maybe he needs a mental break. Coaching is a long grind. He's been doing it 17 years straight.
17 years.
Maybe he needs a break.
Yeah. Michael.
I find it hard to believe. I spoke with Coach Tomlin. Of course, they called me earlier before the season. And when I talked with him, you know what he was talking about? He said, Michael, I got another opportunity to go and raise up some young men and bring the best out of them. He said, I love it. I can't wait to go do it. I want to run towards it. And he talks about running towards the issue. I was dealing with an issue. He's talking about running towards an issue, not away from an issue. And that's why it shocks me to hear him say he's thinking about walking away. And now I know we've talked about things that have been said about the the Steeler way, and Ben Roethlisberger saying it's no longer what the reality in Pittsburgh, the Steelers way and all of that. And I don't know how much all of that is weighing on him. The situation he's in with the quarterback is because of the honor they gave to Ben Roethlisberger and kept him around longer than they should have kept him around. So it amazes me when guys like that come back at him when you are, because of your situation, that's why we're in this situation. Hey, listen, Mike Tomlin, anybody you get Mike Tomlin, you got a great coach. I don't understand. Maybe this is what they are doing now to get the power that they need. They'll take the Sean Payton route. I don't imagine they don't listen to him in Pittsburgh. He's everything in Pittsburgh, and I know they listen to him. So I'm shocked to see this. I'm shocked to hear anything about Mike Tomlin walking away because all he talks about is running towards issues, never running from them.
Okay, allow me to say I wish Keyshawn were here today because about 3 weeks ago on this show, I made the case that watch Mike Tomlin figure a way to coach this Pittsburgh team into the playoffs. And Keyshawn scoffed at me and said, there's no way they're going to make the playoffs, not with that quarterback nightmare they have. And guess what? They're in the playoffs. Somehow, even as Richard points out with that T.J. Watt, now they're in the playoffs, going to Buffalo, 10-point dogs. And this is coach of the year kind of stuff that we saw once again from Mike Tomlin. And you guys, I've said this many times sitting in this chair on the show for 7 years. If I could play the game you guys played at the highest level and I could choose my coach, I'd want to play for Mike Tomlin. Because there's no better human coaching than Mike Tomlin. And I don't know if I've ever seen a coach, and this is, as Richard points out, this is 17 years of no losing records in Pittsburgh. But I don't think I've ever seen a coach more consistently get young men ready to play football than Mike Tomlin does Sunday after Sunday after Monday after Thursday after Sunday after Sunday. They are always ready to play, sometimes a little readier than others, but still ready to play. You're going to get pretty much their best shot. Whatever they got to give you, they're going to give you. And again, he had to navigate Antonio Brown, and now it's Pickens, and now it's the quarterback nightmare, and it's one thing after Mason Rudolph, who's not bad, but he's obviously not great. But you navigated, you figured it out, You kept that team together. I don't know how he does it. He is all-time great to me. The way, and again, nobody ever talks about him as an X's and O guy, even though he came from the defensive side of the ball. Nobody ever says, oh, it's a Mike Tomlin defense. He's a leader of men to me. He's a maker of men. He's a motivator at the highest level, a unifier, an igniter. Michael, speak to it. I've never seen anything like this man.
Yeah, and I love him too. I really do. When you're around him, think about this. Pittsburgh, they draft players, they develop players.
Yeah.
They develop players and they turn them into something. And it's all about them coming in and understanding what they got to do and how hard they have to work. You know, even now, they got Najee Harris and Warren. That's a pretty good, formidable run game that they put together. And I can guarantee you guys this. Now, I will take this bet, Skip. I guarantee you're not beating Mike. You're not beating him by 10 points.
No, I agree.
I guarantee Buffalo. Yeah, I will take this one.
Yeah.
This one I will take.
It's too many
Even
points.
without T.J. Watt, it's way too many points.
Too many points.
For Buffalo. Because Buffalo now, okay, you can run with your quarterback. Even though T.J. Watt's out, they still have some hunters coming. And they're getting back people. When I talked to Alfredo this week, I said, man, tell TJ, I'm worried about him. Tell him I'm praying for him. I mean, and he said he sent me a message back, talked about Fairmouth, number 88 over there. He's making plays now. So if you think they can't muster up some offense and you slip around, Buffalo will lose this game. I guarantee you it won't be a 10-point game.
Okay.
They have played much better offensively under Mason Rudolph. They 2 games, they scored over 30 points. They went to Seattle. They scored over 30 points. They moved the ball down the field. They got it to their playmakers. Some of the biggest plays all season have happened in the last 3 weeks with Mason Rudolph at the helm. So there is reason for optimism for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, on the other side, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen has at times played like an MVP candidate, and at times, even down this stretch, kind of disappeared in totality. You know, he didn't do a ton, even against the Dallas Cowboys. We talked about that game. They ran the ball tremendously, but he only had 7 completions on the game. So they've shown they can win it that way. But you talk about Alex Highsmith. You talk about Cam Hayward still getting it done. Joey Porter Jr. is making big plays. The veteran, Patrick Peterson in the secondary.
He's
they
in
can
that
steal.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. Right, Joey Porter Jr. should be in that defensive Roy. He's playing very well.
So no question. He's played really well down the stretch. They've trusted him against teams' #1 receivers throughout this season since he's been a starter. So I think it's definitely going to be closer than 10 points, no question.
Yeah. So we've watched Buffalo sputter and teeter even against Miami the other night, Sunday night. They look great. They don't look great. He turns it over. He makes plays. They are gettable. And you say, well, they're going home and it's going to be snowing and it's going to be freezing. You think Pittsburgh cares about that? We're not talking about the Dolphins here. We're talking about the Steelers, Steel Town, right? So
this is going to be the most physical game Buffalo's had all year long.
All year long.
Bar none. Because they're not coming in and saying we're throwing the ball. They fully understand we are running this football and playing defense. So Buffalo, you got to bring everybody up in that line of scrimmage and when you do that, then they're going to give Pickens an opportunity to make a play. So this is going to be a good game.
People haven't really watched George Pickens a lot because you don't see Pittsburgh a lot, but they found ways to get him the ball now. And if you give him 8-9 targets a game, some great things are going to happen.
They're going to happen.
And again, to Skip's point, Buffalo isn't, they're kind of a flimsy 2 seed. They're not the 2 seed where you're like, hey, they've been dominant.
Correct.
They've won 5 straight. So you give them credit for that. But it hasn't been a dominant team where you're like, oh, they definitely should beat Pittsburgh and win this game going away. I can see a scenario where Pittsburgh makes this a muddy, grimy game and they come out of it with a win.
So can either of you make a case for Pittsburgh going up there and stealing one from Buffalo?
Yes, I can. They run the ball really well.
Yeah.
Najee Harris has a good game. Warren has a good game. Mason Rudolph doesn't turn the ball over. He's efficient with it. They hit the quick game like they have been defensively. Alex Highsmith and the boys on that D-line put a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, and things can get really weird.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Right. And on the back end, you're getting Mika back, so you start saying, "Oh, that's a ball hawk back there and a turnover guy." So now you get on the back end, even though you lose T.J. Watt on the front end, you're picking. That's what Alfredo said to me 2 days ago. He said, "Man, we're picking up guys on the back end." Alfredo Roberts, the tight end coach, he said, "For Pittsburgh, we're picking up the guys on the back end. We're telling them, let's go as a group on the front end, because that's the only way you can make up for a T.J. Watt as a group. There is no one man that can make up for him. But getting guys back on the back end with this guy that can give that ball up to those guys on the back end, with the young Joey Porter Jr. playing a Stephon Diggs. I can't wait to see that matchup. Playing a Stephon Diggs. They have an opportunity to make this a grimy game and catch Buffalo. You know, time of possession-wise, so keep him on the sideline, keep that Superman on the sideline, time of possession-wise, and come out of a grimy game with a 17-14 win. Yeah, they can absolutely do that.
All right. So, Michael, before we hit the break here, you said Jerry Jones had called you. Did you get to take the call on the break? Do we know what this is about?
Well, I was going to meet with them. And I got to go back over there to meet with them. I actually hit the phone when they kicked away and told. I said, I'm on the air. I'll call you right back right after the show. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To let them know. So yeah.
Well, you don't think he's taking issue with he wasn't taking issue with what somebody said on the show, right?
I'll find out and let you know. But I got no problem with it. And we'll talk about it. And if it is something, I'll let you guys know. I hope he's saying, doggone it, you right. We got to put pressure on them boys to get this thing done.
Love it.
Because we like that old pressure.
All right.
We like that old pressure.
And, Michael, you will be here in studio.